enough of that. Let's get on to something a bit more fun. Look at the time. It's Trump is literally Hitler Day again, bros. Man, that was it doesn't really seem like a year since it was last Trump was literally Hitler Day. They should really make it a holiday. This was the thing that sort of kicked it off. The Atlantic, basically run by a sort of Democrat insider who was good friends with Ghislaine Maxwell and the Clintons and Biden and Kamala, all those people, basically, right? Trump is speaking like Hitler, Stalin, and Mussolini. Well, what I want to know, right, is what kind of accent is German, Russian, and Italian all at the same time? Right? I mean, like, that sounds like a complicated mouthful. The former president has brought dehumanizing language into American presidential politics by an apple bomb. Okay, fine. I say nothing. Now, I mean, like, this is basically just exactly the same article that's been written like a billion times before, really. Basically, they're like, oh my God, Jews are lice. They cause typhus. Well, there was like a typhoid epidemic at the time. These people don't seem to know any history at all, honestly. But this is just, basically propaganda. Now, of course, Kamala was trying to make hay off this. She called a speech, bro. She called a speech. She's like, oh my God. Wait, has Rumble like frozen? Oh, for the love of, what the hell? Yeah, it seems like it's frozen. Russian. No, it seems like it's going for me. Right. Hang on. Well, let's get back to it. Right. So, Kamala's all like, did you read this thing in the paper? Trump is literally Hitler, bros. Oh, God.
So yesterday we learned that Donald Trump's former chief of staff, John Kelly, a retired 4-star general, confirmed that while Donald Trump was president, he said he wanted generals like Adolf Hitler had. Donald Trump said that because he does not want a military that is loyal to the United States Constitution. He wants a military that is loyal to him. He wants a military who will be loyal to him personally, one that will obey his orders even when he tells them to break the law or abandon their oath to the Constitution of the United States. In just the past week, Donald Trump has repeatedly called his fellow Americans the enemy from within, and even said that he would use the United States military to go after American citizens. And let's be clear about who he considers to be the enemy from within. Anyone who refuses to bend a knee or dares to criticize him would qualify in his mind as the enemy within, like judges, like journalists, like nonpartisan election officials. It is deeply troubling and incredibly dangerous that Donald Trump would invoke Adolf Hitler, the man who is responsible for the deaths of 6 million Jews and hundreds of thousands of Americans. All of this is further evidence for the American people of who Donald Trump really is. This is a window into who Donald Trump really is, from the people who know him best, from the people who worked with him side by side in the Oval Office and in the Situation Room. And it is clear from John Kelly's words that Donald Trump is someone who, I quote, certainly falls into the general definition of fascist, who in fact vowed to be a dictator on day one and vowed to use the military as his personal militia to carry out his personal and political vendettas. Donald Trump is increasingly unhinged and unstable. And in a second term, people like John Kelly would not be there to be the guardrails against his propensities and his actions. Those who once tried to stop him from pursuing his worst impulses would no longer be there, and no longer be there to rein him in. So the bottom line is this. We know what Donald Trump wants. He wants unchecked power. The question in 13 days will be, what do the American people want? Thank you.
I think it's pretty clear what the American people want. Just look at the bloody polls. So yeah, right, and so yeah, this was a story that was going around. This dropped basically at exactly the same time as the Mecca Hitler thing. That supposedly, like 3 or 4 years ago, Trump said that he wanted generals like Hitler. A bunch of people who were there came out and said this is bullshit. There was another story that dropped that said that he offered to pay for the funeral of a dead soldier, and then when he was presented with the bill, he was like, "I'm not paying that. How does it cost that much money to bury a dead Mexican?" Yeah, right. None of these stories are getting much traction, right? And a lot of this is to do with the way that Twitter functions now, obviously, right? Because everybody just piles on and is like, "Oh, bullshit," like, you know, fuck off, right? Back in the day, back in like 2020, they would have just, you know, started like nuking everyone saying anything disparaging. But, you know, it's a different era now, bros. This made me remember this clip from The Daily Show.
Skibbity Biden.
Skibbity Biden. Skibbity, skibbity Biden. Skibbity Biden. Joe. Skibbity Biden. Hitler's language. Trump is using Hitler's language. Hitler's language. Trump is using Hitler's language. Skibbity.
Now, I mean, Trump is using Hitler's language. Yeah, it is weird that this was on Colbert. Like, honestly, no, it's not cringe. This is the news. I get that there is a lot of cringe. This is the author of said article about Trump being Mecca Hitler, Mecca Stalin, and Mecca Mussolini. And Applebaum, oy vey, she, her, I imagine. Check it out.
Yeah, you know, I also think part of the problem is it's true that people, when you say Trump will be Hitler, which is, by the way, not what I said. I just said he's using some of Hitler's language and Stalin's language. People imagine Nazis or stormtroopers or something that just seems so incredible and far away from American reality. And that's true, but that's also because they don't have the imagination or maybe the knowledge to know how it is that democracies break down nowadays. Nowadays, most democracies fail not because of violence or a coup d'etat, but because a legitimate elected leader comes to power and then begins to dismantle institutions. He puts loyalists in the jobs instead of experts. He politicizes institutions that are supposed to belong to the whole nation, like the military or the Department of Justice.
That's our job, to politicize the Department of Justice. We never expected that if we politicize these institutions, they would one day be used against us. Come on, bro.
And makes them serve him and his political program. And, you know, we've seen this happen. I mean, it's what happened in Hungary. It's what happened in Turkey. I saw it happen in Poland. It's where I lived part of the time, as you know, and the Polish ruling party at that time tried to do this. They went through the steps. They didn't succeed in doing it fully, and so they eventually lost an election. But, you know, it's not as hard as you think to change the rules, to bring in new kinds of people, to use the law against media or against politicians that you don't like, to use the IRS against politicians you don't like. And there are precedents for it in American history, too. So it's not as if it's absolutely never happened before. So I find all of that eminently believable. But as I said, for people who are going to vote for him because of whatever reason, you know, they need to dismiss it, laugh at it, mock it, you know, tweet it with LOL, you know, lol at the top, because they don't want to admit to themselves what it is they're supporting.
Right. Well, there you go, bros. J. Chiva Loophole saying if where is it? If Trump is you know, Mecca Hitler and Mecca Stalin and Mecca Mussolini, right? You know, he's fighting himself. I mean, we supported Mecca Stalin. And what about Mecca Mao, right? Why leave out Mao? What about Mecca Franco, right? Like, what about who's the guy in Argentina who was the helicopter ride guy? Someone in chat will know. What about him, right? Like, he's all the fascisms rolled into one, bro. The cope about this. I mean, look, the Dems are definitely definitely starting to panic now. But because they don't really have anything, Mecha Mugabe, Mecha Pinochet in Chile. Thank you very much. Not Argentina. Thank you, Ivan. Yes, you are correct. Mecha Pol Pot, Mecha Idi Amin. Exactly. It's just Mecha. Right? Like, so yeah, the seed on MSNBC has been hilarious to watch. Check this shit out.
As important as Trump's fascism is, and is the lead story every day, his cozying up to dictators, his obsession with Hitler that has now come out, what he has said about our veterans, and what he wants to do with the military against his political adversaries, it's all huge news. This is the future that we're looking at in the next Trump term, if there is one. But this is what voters know right now, that he is killing us. I'm talking about us women. He's killing us. He is putting us at risk. He is making us afraid to have babies. He is putting our reproductive health at risk, and some women have died already because of this. So we can see right now what's coming. These headlines, and very good reporting, by the way, that shouldn't be questioned by idiots about what Trump has said about Hitler, that's incredibly important to know. But I do understand that people who are busy and that are people who are just tapping in may not be able to comprehend, because we've been free. We've been comfortable. We cannot comprehend that. And I understand that. I validate that it is hard to go from here to there. It is where we're going. I hope we don't find out the hard way. But what's happening with women right now is real, and it is playing out across America.
Yeah, I mean, I guess this is what happens when you don't have any policies, right? And you base your entire campaign basically on saying that your opponent is Satan in the boomer truth regime, bros. Not only that, bros, shock announcement, right? Trump is not only Mecha Hitler, Stalin, Mussolini, he is also a massive Mecha pervert. Yes, in a stunning revelation, this girl came out and said that Trump touched her inappropriately in 1993. So 30 years ago, right? She just managed to get up the strength to admit it now. Not in any way suspicious. Apparently when Trump was hanging out with Epstein, she met them and Trump gave her a grope. Wait, have I got the actual footage of it? Oh, I don't. No, I don't. Anyway, she's all like, oh my god, wait, she's got a postcard signed by him. I mean, she used to look pretty hot, to be fair. But now she doesn't. Oh, here we go. Right. Let's see if this will play.
I grew up in rural Pennsylvania, and my senior year of high school, I was discovered at the mall, because where else were we all hanging out in the late 80s, by a former model. And that led me to New York and Europe and a long, lucrative career as a model. And in 1992, my agent invited me to a dinner to a restaurant on the Upper East Side of New York. And there were other models there and the usual men hangers-on at this dinner. And one of the men who was sitting at this table was Jeffrey Epstein. And I had never heard of him or anything, but we got to know each other, and we talked a lot about Clinton and Gore. And I enjoyed the fact that he was politically engaged and wasn't infantilizing me and talking to me about that. The next time that I saw Jeffrey was a few months later in December of 92 at Donald Trump's Plaza Hotel Christmas party. And it became very clear then that he and Donald were really, really good friends and spent a lot of time together. After that, Jeffrey Epstein expressed a lot of interest in me, and we started seeing each other. When Jeffrey and I would talk, he mentioned Trump frequently. He was clearly a close friend, and they were spending a lot of time together. Late winter, early spring of 93, I was on a walk with Jeffrey from his brownstone on the Upper East Side down Fifth Avenue when Jeffrey looked at me and said, let's go stop by and see Trump. And so we went to Trump Tower and went up the elevator, and moments later, Trump was greeting us, and he pulled me into him and started groping me. He put his hands all over my breasts, my waist, my butt, and I froze. And I froze because I was so deeply confused about what was happening, because the hands were moving all over me. Yet these two men were like smiling at one another and continuing on in their conversation. Jeffrey and I left, and I got into the elevator with him, and I felt this, like, he didn't look at me. He didn't speak to me. And I felt this like seething rage around him. His whole energy shifted. And when we got down to the sidewalk, he looked at me and started just berating me. He kept saying, "Why did you let him do that? Why did you let him put his hands all over you? What?" And he made me feel so disgusting. And I remember at that moment being so utterly confused. Number one, I thought, well, yeah, why did I let him do that? And then I was confused because, well, but why is Jeffrey mad? Because he's the one that took me up there. And I was also confused because I was someone who really prided myself as being sort of one of the tough models who was problematic, because I fought back against the predators in the industry. I defended fellow models on the streets of Paris when we would be grabbed or harassed.
Anyway, enough of that. So yeah, she was groped by Trump. She was hanging out with Epstein. Of course, it is well known that Trump and Epstein were friends. But it's also well known that Trump stopped being friends with Epstein when he discovered about the way he was treating women. So I don't know, what, 1993. Now, this is a really, really great thread. I thought I'd just like show some of this. 2017, Hitler attempts to knock over the Western Wall in Jerusalem. 2004, Hitler begins organic chicken farm to feed shock troops. 1988, Hitler attempts to kidnap black woman. 1988, Hitler meets with others to watch men bludgeon each other for sport. 2006, Hitler meets with black Nazi. Date unknown, Hitler meets with John Kerry. This is great. Mate, I love these. Fucking dude. Dude. 2005, Hitler met with a notorious assassin with ties to Russia and her husband. So yeah, this latest propaganda push really is not landing, bros. So there you go. Right.